Cheers, and God bless everyone. This is definitely a smoke 'em if you got 'em. No holds barred. Asteroid Fight Club March update. I am your planetary defense commander, and the next week in history will be the most important week humanity has ever faced, bro. We are now at a period between finding solutions together and absolute lawlessness, where 1 billion people die in a single month. And I don't know if you're allowed to smoke and pray, but let's give it a shot. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For you are the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Please, Lord, forgive us for all of our sins. And let the original sin that Jesus Christ forgave be washed away. And pretty please, with everything on top, give humanity a chance to take a step forward, learn from all the mistakes in history, and create a solid, good, bright, beautiful future of abundance for all the next 1,000 years. Please take care of everyone and soothe all fears. And to the end of my days on earth, I shall have faith in you, my Lord God, creator of above and below, and everything in between. Amen. So yeah, guys, there's no joking happening at the moment, though I'm going to try as best I can. On that note, I'd like to thank Susan and Lynn and Angelina and everyone in Asteroid Fight Club and everybody in the military or around that has kept me alive during times like this. And cheers out to all the cool people on the planet. Yes, this frozen trooper mug is filled with whiskey. All right, so I don't know if you know this, but the YouTube has been filled with a lot of garbage for a long time. And that I hear people talking about martial law. And I think at this point, there's like no chance of martial law as you might know it. A day and a half ago, I watched the best briefing I've seen brought to us by the Army through the Department of Defense. And they said basically the majority of military function will be to support the plague. I'm going to use that word. I know YouTube doesn't like it, and a lot of people don't like it. But how I have been treating this and have continued to treat this as a particle collider assisted black magic virus that escaped the lab that ultimately was manifested from our hate and greed. And this thing is straight out of hell, and it hates human beings. And so it looks like that the situation is going to be pretty bad as far as casualties go. And that, unless I'm totally wrong, a lot of people are going to get hit with this in the United States, and we're going to see a large loss of lives in comparison to what we've known in the modern age. And so, the fear mongers on YouTube have always warned of like martial law. This is not martial law, dude. Like even in California, You're allowed to leave. You're allowed to go to the grocery store. You're allowed to, like, the military is not out policing you, shooting you if you're trying to buy bread, bro. And that ultimately the military will be used to support the makeshift hospitals. You are going to be seeing the military working with cities and hoteliers to overtake hotels to turn them into makeshift hospitals to treat the wounded. We are in a wartime scenario, all right? They're not there to whatever crazy martial law thought you think that it's strange because, as I've talked about many times, that my Lionheart sister Angela's Air Force, my dad and stepdad are Air Force, that I I don't fear our military. That at the end of the day, if there's anyone I have to respect and look to, it is the military. And so the military has been the ones standing on the wall. And there is always a relationship between the military and the leader, no matter how far you go back in time. As a politician or as a king, if you want to keep the peace, you have to have the full faith or the majority of the faith and belief in the military. And so, as I've told you for 7 years, not to trust politicians because they seem to be beholden to the narrative creators, the stock markets, and corporations, that ultimately the politician's boss is the military. And so at the end of the day, it is very important that the military, all the branches, Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, National Guard, Space Force, has to believe that politicians are working for their best interests and that they're doing everything they can to keep the men who keep them safe and healthy, and women. So we've seen a lot of evidence presented to us that since I briefed us on January 30th that this was a horrible situation that was about to get worse, and we had 7 weeks to prepare for it before lockdowns started in the middle of March, our politicians did everything with the same information to distract us. Whether you had the right side saying, hey, we trust China 100%, to it's just the flu, bro, it's a hoax, to the total silence of the Democrats. It's all the same. They were informed on the situation. They were informed on what it would look like in the middle of March. And they chose to support status quo. And many of them dumped their stocks for millions of fucking dollars. So at the time, they're telling their brokers and people, like, let's get ready for the shutdown. Let's sell all the stocks we fucking can, man. We know that this is going to be worse than 9/11 tenfold. And then they would go on social media or whatever and just keep up the status quo. Everything's fine. Nothing to worry about. Like, let's focus on elections and impeachments and blaming each other. That's like literally the only thing politicians do is blame people. They either take credit or blame people. Like, that's all they fucking do. It's not my fault, it's their fault. So it's made me very sad, especially over the last 5 to 7 years, to watch people utterly worship politicians like they were Jesus Christ, Jimi Hendrix, or Johnny Cash, you know? And that I fear now that the 10 days are, there have never been a more important 10 days in the history of mankind, in modern age. And so everyone has had to stay home. That has been the best call. You have a plague running around attacking human beings that we know very little about. I also want to remind you that as soon as the outbreak happened in China, you had the Chinese, the American scientists, the media, social media, within like 3 days going, we know for a fact that a guy ate a fucking bat. And that's how this thing happened. You had everybody slammed up, like everybody's like, oh yeah, dude, somebody ate a bat. Somebody ate one too many bats, and this fucking shit happened. And it's like everybody bought it like hook, line, and motherfucking sinker. And then our own president said, well, yeah, we totally trust China. And then with everybody else's silence, other than Tom Cotton, they were like, yeah, we trust China. And now they flipped the script to it's China's fault. And technically, from what I understand, it is a whole lot of fucking people's fault. And if you knew the story of how this thing got out, your mind would be blown. But the house is on fire and the plague is running around, and it is definitely fucking biblical. And so we stand at the cusp of time. And our politicians instantly did what they can to support the banks and the markets. I'm not faulting them for that, but they did it like 4 or 5 times in the last 8 weeks. Like, we got to take care of corporations. We got to take care of banks. Got to take care of the stock markets. And in the last week, where Americans across the board need cash infusions to continue to pay bills and buy food, are going to need, hundreds of millions of Americans are going to need a cash infusion in the next 2 weeks. Our politicians have said, hey, we'll figure it out in 3 weeks. But at the same time, have done multiple things to assure the markets. So as I have talked about hundreds of times, Asteroid Fight Club, that like one of the main reasons I did this was because I wanted to avoid absolute lawlessness across the planet. And that lawlessness happens when your supply chains break down, and that if you have major lawlessness break out, there ain't no going back. And if you even want to dial it up to, it would take, you'd have 1 billion dead in a month if supply chains totally break down. And then after that, it becomes a power vacuum war between the richest of the rich and those who control the weapons. And so ultimately, it probably ends up with the majority of Earth dying and no one in control. Those are the fucking facts, bro, as I've been spitting them to you from the top to the bottom since I've been doing this. And that even in the middle of this event, from its start to now, you have the power brokers and the people who have power doing what they can to figure out where we're going to be, what is going to happen, and how to maintain the most amount of power possible. Nostradamus even talks about it. And that right now, I am in the camp of nobody knows what's going to happen next. And that the only way out of this is working together. And that they fucked up Mars, and they fucked up Atlantis, and they fucked up Tiamat. And so, shout out to the Viking Marine and the Hopi War Princess. Hopefully this is the time that we get it right. But things are showing that outside of Cuomo, we have a bunch of politicians and very few leaders. And so the military is basically the people, man. And so in the next 10 days, our government's focus, our political focus to the politicians out there, need to be focused on keeping supply chains up and the people fed. And that all the people and the politicians need to be focused on the military will be supporting all your doctors and nurses taking care of the people on the war front, which are the sick and infected. And so we have to support the support, because right now our healers, our nurses, our truck drivers, our delivery people, our stockers, Like, they are the kings of our planet. They are the ones who can get it through this, who can get us through this. And so we have to support our support. And that my greatest fear is that 2 or 3 weeks from now, when the politicians come out with their plan to keep the supply chains open and to make sure all Americans are fed, they're just gonna fucking throw it in the dirt, bro. Like they've done for 10 years, 20 years in a row. And so that's where we're at. And these are definitely scary times. I haven't lost faith, but the fact that our president has been taking the focus of this incident and then blaming China, or that all the help he's really interested in focusing on is in helping the markets, is not encouraging. And so we need some leadership fast. And as I had mentioned previously, the most impressive briefing I got was from the Army. And that they're going to do what they can to help fight this virus that we all know now. They should have shut shit down in the middle of February. Like I said, that like around the 14th was pretty much ground zero. That anything non-shut down after that, like, is just gonna be bad. And so we're gonna, and our government literally threw every roadblock in front of testing possible. You understand that, right? I know there are going to be people out there who have cognitive dissonance, who look to a politician in our government with higher regard than Muslims look to Allah. But dude, they've been thrown in the fucking dirt. They obstructed testing. Why? I don't know. But I do know that the time for leadership is now, and that the war is here. And so there's no reason to be dunking on anyone right now. There's no reason to be blaming people. Like, who the fuck are you going to blame the plague of 1666 on? Who the fuck are you going to blame the plague of 1918 on? There have been plagues throughout history noted by every religion and mythology known to man. Plagues happen when shit goes off the rails and people get too stupid, too angry, too hateful, too greedy, too schadenfreude. Plagues show the fuck up. I hate to break it to you, man, but we have been in a new world order for 20 fucking years. It's just existed at the very top, right? You haven't seen any real war happen. You've just watched these like on television wars as the monetary base exploded and everybody got super rich at the tippy top. And that so a new world order has existed for 20 fucking years. And I'm sorry if you can't wrap your head around that. I ain't got time to explain it. And that somehow a reordering of all things is going to happen. And so we will be the ones who write and cast the future. And I got no fucking time for negative Nancy's. People who always focus on the devil are not my bag of people, man. Although I don't know why you put people in a bag. This is a bad analogy. Like I've always said, Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit created me to be a winner. And if I die today, I did my best to help everyone on the planet because I consider you my family. Because we're all the children of God. I don't care if you believe that or not. I know it. I know it. And I'm prepared to die with that as my belief, going to the gates of heaven, going, hey, God, I believed everybody on the planet, we were all the children of God. So that is why I'm Planetary Defense Commander. Because I know that the old system has sucked and that we now have a chance to build a better world, a future that lasts for 1,000 years, of peace, prosperity, amazingly cool stuff. But for what, 20, 40 years, 20 years, we got people saying that can't happen. In the early 90s, that was all we saw, was like, we're one world and we're not that scared of working together. And then the internet came in and pumped in, like, what was it, the Left Behind series, and like, no, people working together is the work of the fucking devil. Nah, man. People working together is the way. So yeah, it's a huge week, bro. And right now, the politicians are the only ones who can set up a thing to where people get money and the supply chains stay open and people stay fed and your electricity stays on, your internet stays on, and your water stays on. And that, along with fighting the virus and supporting those, the doctors, the nurses, the military, the makeshift hospitals, the deliverers, the stalkers, that is and should be our only focus. And at the end of the day, I've said many times, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Texan. And so every town is going to handle this differently. Every city is going to handle it differently. And every state is going to handle it differently. And yeah, it scares me, the fact that avoiding absolute fucking lawlessness is in the hands of our politicians. But technically, our politicians are in the hands of our military. Don't ever think it's different than that. And of all the things that made me absolutely abandon any belief in politics a long time ago, was when I found out that a bunch of our politicians sold stock before 9/11. But another thing, as I've been saying to you for 7 years, is that there's no grand transition expert. No one has ever been through anything like this before. The grand transition has absolutely begun. We are in it. The clock is ticking. The game is playing. Yeah, I think karma is real and there's universal justice. That like a belief in God is something every individual has that is probably an incredibly diverse view, no matter what their belief is. And that I don't know how you look at heaven and hell, but I believe that when you die, it is like a form of reincarnation. I know that a lot of people like to think, hey, heaven's like the greatest hotel room of all time. You just show up there, all your pets are there, the people you loved are there, greatest foods, you never gain weight, and you're always high fiving God. It's hard for me to imagine that. Maybe it's true. On the same front, it's hard for me to imagine that like you would just get thrown into the middle of a lake of fire and burn there for eternity. Like, do you get a body again? How does that work? I don't know. Forever stasis just never makes no sense to me and how the universe works. And so I believe it is like a form of reincarnation where you're going to be born again as something at some point in time. And so that you take your energy from your soul from this place to wherever you're going next. That's also been a big key to probably how I got this cool and why I try to stay this cool. But cheers to Asteroid Fight Club and definitely the healers in the military. Because that's how, the last decade, I have looked at the police and the military. It is, at the end of the day, their mission is peacekeeping. Unfortunately, it's been our politicians and our heads of industry to be up to them to be peacemakers. And they haven't done so great a job. Sorry to say it, I ain't blaming nobody. But I have been here selling peace for 7 straight years so we could avoid a plague in 20 fucking 20. And very few people in power were buying it. Many times I got told to my face, we don't like change, bro. All right. And hey, there are mystical interconnected elements to this where it looks like someone on an evil side might be in control. I don't technically think by definition of control that is accurate, but I still want to reiterate that at times in prophecy, it has looked like whether the bad guys, however you want to name them, are going to win, they're totally defeated in a millisecond. And so I still believe in that because I'm still here, you are still here, the lights are still on. And so away we go. So yeah, recap if you're just joining us. We can all see that the economy as we know it has shut down. We've all seen politicians and central banks go out of their way many times to make sure that businesses and banks have a lot of cash or money on hand. We have heard them talk about sending Americans money so they can stay home. Like I call it like Space Force, where you're all in Space Force now. Basically, over the next month or 2 or 3, you're going to get paid to stay home, stay cool, and figure out what we're going to do when we come out of this thing. The world will never be the same. And that my big fear is that just as politicians have been fucking us for 8 fucking weeks, and 8 weeks of them having a choice between the right thing and the wrong thing, and they have yet to make the choice of the right thing. I'm scared that they're going to continue to fuck the people because they fear or they think they got somewhere they can go to and they can be safe or they can be that fucking Gilligan's Island, Garden of Eden, Guidestones. Hey, we'll be just fine here. We'll start the world over. Or whatever other crazy fucking ideas that people come up with that just don't work when it works out. I mean, it's even like you have a debate between like sending people 2,000 a month or 1,000 a month for the next 3, 4 months, or boosting unemployment benefits. And there was a conservative who was talking about, hey, today, big guy with 1 million followers, talking about, I don't understand why it's just like the flu, why there's such a big deal. And someone put it like, well, it's just like McDonald's serves 1 billion hamburgers a year, but if you pull up to the drive-through and order 5 million hamburgers at once, you create a problem at that McDonald's. And that is the same thing with hospitals, that this has consistently shown a 15 to 20% hospitalization rate for the people who get the virus, that it attacks your lungs, attacks your liver, attacks your spleen, it just attacks all your vital fucking organs. So like 20% of the people that get this are like, take me to the hospital. And so all the hospitals are going to be overwhelmed, understaffed. There are reports now of hospitals who won't be able to make fucking payroll. We all know that we're in undersupply in masks, we're in undersupply in many of the things we need, and that for 8 weeks, our political system has done jack shit, bro. I literally don't have any time for anyone who wants to cheerlead or say that our political system, any of them, have done a fantastic job other than Cuomo. Like, I ain't got time for that, bro, because your imagination fucking sucks. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just saying that, like, there's so many bad takes out there. And you know what? Want to know who has been rewarded over the last few years? Is the people who come up with the shittiest bullshit takes. Well, now we're here. And I'm sorry, I don't have chat on, but I've watched a few other people's shows and people are going nuts. And they're like, if you really have an urge to hate someone or blame somebody, just stay off the fucking internet, man. Don't make the problem any worse than it already is. And all you people out there trying to fucking like tell people the New World Order or the Illuminati or the like evil ones playbook ahead of time, that must mean you're on their fucking team, man. And I've always felt that. If you're literally trying to like give people a play-by-play of how there's no hope left and we're just gonna get run over by the devil on his motorcycle, that means you're on the devil's fucking team, bro. Like if you were so focused on the playbook without coming up with a fucking solution, then you must be working on their team. But then that explains why a lot of them are paid pretty well. Anywho, is why I haven't gone live or made a video in the last few days, just because the evidence is clear that our politicians who have been fucking us the whole fucking time, I can't believe more people didn't fucking figure it out. We're going to need a lot of come to Jesus moments. I'm not blaming our politicians. I'm just saying right now, there are like, they're the only ones I know that can keep people fed and supply chains up in the system we have that is breaking down. And that on like, how do I put this? But that ultimately, right now, it feels like the military is in control. They're the ones who are going to be taking care of hospitals, opening up new hospitals, making sure that the process continues. Hopefully, the Corps of Engineers will be making sure that power stays on and water stays running. And that so anyone who is trying to make you fear the military right now is a fucking dipshit. You have a plague breaking across the world in its first wave. And we can either attack it with music and prayer, and I don't give a shit if you don't believe in that either, and try to play the best defense we can to prevent it or help those who have gotten it, while staying cool and keeping everybody fed and doing our part to keep the system up, or it all goes to shit, dude. You try and keep up old world ways into the future, it's all gonna go backwards and catch on fucking fire. I just saw Kenny Rogers. Crap. Okay, can't play the song. It's not ready. I have to put in my password. Coward of the county. And I'm not a coward, dude. I have had the courage to tell us that the only way forward is by uniting. And that you don't have to fear teamwork. You don't have to fear everybody getting good health care. You don't have to fear everybody getting fed. You don't have to fear everyone having a place to live. You don't have to fear everyone having electricity. You don't have to fear everyone having drinking water. And then for the last 25 years, the New World Order was here, dude. And so we're moving on to something else. That's why I keep trying to talk about how there's the secret world, man, where the billionaires and the fame, like, it's there, bro. I've been the bridge in between the people and the power and the money and the fame, dude. I've been the bridge, bro. One foot on both sides. And both sides have caused severe difficulty in the situation. But I'm just telling you, there has been a secret world that has been working together for 25 fucking years. And that about everybody I talked to in person, there was always a little bit of fear behind the future where they didn't know what the fuck is coming. And as I've been telling you, the opposite of what QAnon is telling you, he's like, trust the plan. Well, I've been saying there is no plan. So now it's kind of obvious that if this is an uncontrolled virus, there's no plan, man. And there's a silver lining to that. We, all of us who are now like Atlas with the world on our shoulders, have an opportunity to make a plan. And the very base of that plan should be that everybody gets fed, everybody gets health care, everybody gets a place to live, everybody gets electricity, and everybody gets water. And everybody stays cool and is grateful for all the good shit we have in this world. Now, the people who have existed on hate, anger, and blame for the last decade or two will probably never come to terms with that unless they have to. So, like I said, I don't. But it's the only way. We're all in this together. I've been saying that for 7 years. And here we are, where everybody from the president to the prime ministers, they're all saying we are all in this together. So I have laid the groundwork. I have laid the way for us to move forward. And just as Jesus Christ offered me and original sin forgiveness, that even all of our politicians can become winners and heroes in this moment if they choose to do the right thing. And that is making sure that everybody gets fed, everybody has a place to live, everybody has power and water. And that we know we can see the old economy is going to crater, dude. The I've been talking about this for years, especially over the last year, and I guaranteed you at the beginning of the year, at the end of the 2020, the world as you know it is going to look completely different from how you knew it at the beginning of the year. So this is not doom. This is not all hope is lost, but this is definitely the scariest week we've ever faced. Because it seems like a large part of our faith is in political hands. Because as far as I know, only politicians right now have the means to avoid a lawless period. And as I've been in lockdown in my apartment for about a year ish, and that in 2012, when I started my channel, I lived at the greatest ranch you've ever seen, had a beautiful Mustang, I had $5 in the bank, working for lawyers, everybody loved me. And I started my YouTube channel. And then we're here now. And I gave all that up because I knew where we were going, the direction we were headed. And I just like I told everybody, again and again and again and again and again and again and again. I have no fucking clue why you were maxing out your 401k. Like, if you have a 5-year plan now or a 10-year plan now, you are in like fantasy land, bro. Because you have all these all these problems that have never been solved have to be solved or it all fucking collapses. And so we are here. And like I said, I have faith in God, and I definitely believe in miracles. But, people always say no fear, but a little bit of fear is healthy. A little bit of fear keeps you alive. And we have been chain blowing out bad decisions for a long time. And so now's the time to make good decisions. And that's why I say now is the time for politicians to prove to the military and their families that they are doing everything they can in their power to take care of them. Semper Fi, baby. And almost every day since like 2015, 2013, I thought at some point somebody could try to kill me or kill me. And today is no motherfucking different. But, times it seems like death would be easier than this shit or more fun. And so, I guess partially that's why I've been so fucking fearless. I got a little fear. Like, I don't want to lose 1 billion people in a month. I don't want everything to slide into hell. I definitely fear that shit, and I've feared that shit since I started this. That it has been my job as the leader of Asteroid Fight Club and your planetary defense commander to avoid lawlessness at all costs. Well, it's game time, man. I mean, there is so much we can do when we decide to work together. This is World War II is a fantastic analogy that we are in a war and that the 25,000 we know are infected today in the United States of America and the hundreds of deaths that have happened, it's going to get a lot worse. The soonest, like in the DoD Army briefing, which I appreciated more than you know, they said they were pretty much using the military to back and set up hospitals in every city in the United States to the best of their ability. And that they were looking at peak nastiness in the middle of April, which is a month from now. And so everything we do, every word we use, every choice we make from now out over the next month has never carried more weight than it does now. And that whatever weight you or fear or anxiety you feel on your shoulders, you have just now dipped a toe into my world. Because where I have said and pledged, I protect the people, the animals, and the planet. I've meant it. And so you're all Space Force now, baby. I've done what I'd like to call my best to prepare us for this shit. And we're here. Godspeed, my friends. Supply chains. And I've mentioned many times, CCC was back between World War I and World War II, where every single person got like 2,000 a month, but you had to do your part to keep your town and area up and running. And yes, I believe in a miracle factor where we could at least beat this virus or reduce its lethality through frequencies and vibrations. As music has a lot to do with it, laughter, that it might be more higher ground than most people are prepared to deal with right now. But like I've said, the fact that there's a chance it might go away in July, go away, I'm going to believe in that for now. We need an endpoint, a light at the end of the tunnel to believe in. Nostradamus said it from the plagues that have started. Like we most of us here, I believe a battle between good and evil. Spiritual warfare has been being fought, and now we're in the middle of the shit. And so that the reasons that I have looked at this as a bioweapon that got out of the lab because multiple groups fought over it, combined with particle colliding, black magic, manifestation of greed over 100 years. That's how I've looked at it. And so if you're going to beat that shit back, you're going to do it with the very best of the spirit of mankind. So between taking in all the negative information, I need to take breaks. And so I believe it was last night, I watched a movie called The Natural. One of the greatest movies of all time, and it probably has the best ending of all time. And yes, I think at some point I watched The Natural with my dad and my stepfather. It's one of my favorite movies ever. What are the three American things? Rock and roll, baseball, and apple pie. And so in The Natural, during the Knights, the New York Knights, a speech was given to the team. And in that speech, they compared losing to the bubonic plague. And that the way to defeat it was with winning. And so I still sit here believing that we can turn it around by turning it around. We were headed in a really fucking bad direction. We got rid of rock and roll. Now baseball's gone. And I'm sure less apple pies are being baked than normal. And that plagues show up when the highest of the high get too big for their fucking britches and their heads get so fucking giant, there isn't a single hat that can fit them. So plagues show up when the highest of the high fuck up too bad and get us off course. Well, that's where we're at. This is like a course correction. But during this course correction, every decision is magnified a million times. And so I'm asking everybody to pray. I'm asking everybody to stay cool. I'm asking everybody to work together. And that by being selfless to the best of your ability while taking care of yourself, it's going to help us out a lot. And know that right now, the healers are number one. And that we all need to be focused on the people fighting on the front lines. And that in this time of stay home, it is not fucking martial law. That your military will be out there doing what they can to set up hospitals and fight the war that is being waged on us right now. And so we have to stay cool and we have to figure out a way to keep everybody fed, electricity on, everybody's got a place, that if people need health care, they get it, and water. And I'll tell you right now that, like, I don't know, I think I've left the apartment 5 times in this month. And I left the apartment maybe 5 times between February 10th and the end of February. I've been in lockdown. But at some point, like today, to get more cigarettes, I had to go to the store. If I get it, I'm just going to stay home and fight it. And if it takes me, it takes me. I'm not going to burden. Like, if you got to put me on a medical fucking... Well, this has kind of always been my strategy. I'm like a quintessential man where I haven't been to the doctor in fucking forever. It's probably the reason why my teeth are so... I just don't like going to the fucking doctor, dude. And so, if I get it, and a lot of statistics point to the fact that if there's no miracle, everybody's going to get this shit. So I will get it, and I will fight it. And if I do not win, I did my best. And I'm going to keep trying to do my best. But I'm damn frustrated because social media, the media, and I'm talking both motherfucking sides, bro. The conservative and the liberal has been garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. And most of your theories have been fucking bad and wrong. And that here we are this late in the game, and there's still tons of fucking people pouring horrible fucking information that doesn't help anything into the system. And I believe I have proven that I am one of the smartest, one of the wisest men on the planet. And I don't know what's going to happen next. And so the people who are like, I know exactly what's going to happen next, and it's total doom, and there's nothing you can do, you aren't helping anybody, buddy. And it's never my position to say who is or isn't a Christian or in the favor of God. But it's hard for me to understand how the people who stand in the middle of a town square just like accusing people of horrible things and talking shit all the time are helping fucking anything. Like, give up your faith in politics, man. But ironically, like, to avoid lawlessness, we need politicians to get right with God. And I just want to say, sidebar though, like, if they knew, because it's like, okay, serious question or unserious question. How many doubles do you think Trump has? I would guess 3 to 4 total doubles. And so that if Congress and the president have been briefed accurately on this situation the whole fucking time, you know, if I was playing defense, you never saw the actual president. You never saw him at rallies, not once. And even in his White House briefings, that's not the fucking president, bro. I think the only time we ever saw the president on a camera once was during Davos in 2019 when he gave a speech to them. I think that may have been the only fucking time we've ever seen our actual president. Although the craziest shit about it all, if you've been super top level staying aware, you know that the deep fake capability where they can make you think you're seeing the president standing next to Tom Hanks, standing next to Taylor Swift, and it's fake, man. They can, like, they had that technology in 2006. So what you think you're seeing as a press conference is all ones and fucking zeros, man. I know, it's crazy times. It's crazy times. And I can't stop chain smoking. Sure will when I run out, though, right? That's how it works. But yeah, I don't think the people who are super evil are in control. I just think they've had a lot of influence. Because anyone who thinks that a single man or a single group is in control of the entire population, electricity itself, the planet, or the fucking solar system, I don't know. I think you're not telling yourself the truth. And it is no coincidence that like the the astrology has pointed to just major things the whole time. It has been like anomalous astrology the whole time. And that we got Venus retrograde coming up in April with an Eris conjunction. And we have Jupiter and Pluto conjuncting 3 times in 2020. And then it ending with Saturn and Jupiter in the same spot in the sky that we can all see with our eyes. And then Pluto's behind, like Pluto, it's like you have Saturn and Jupiter, and then Pluto in Eris, and then in the middle are like Neptune and Uranus. And so that's kind of the crazy thing, and I appreciate Marvel Comics and Star-Lord Quill kind of explaining it of like, yes, Jesus is our king of king on earth. But the solar system is a giant fucking place. And so each planet has a different king of kings, man. And so if you want to be on Earth, any of the three main religions, that's always going to be kind of very topical. But once you step outside of the planet and go to a different planet, whether it be Mars, like any of the planets in our solar systems or other ones, they've always got different kings of kings or queens of queens, man. So if there's one thing I failed, it's that like getting everybody up to speed on the like we got to be bigger than just Earth because it's a solar system affair. And not only is it a solar system affair, I really believe it's like a counter solar system affair. Although it's hard to understand exactly what is in outer space, like not many people know, that like, and anyone who claims to fucking know, like what I'm saying, this is a giant. This almost. It's not only is this happening on Earth, it's happening in our solar system. It's happening in our galaxy, and it's possibly happening across the universe. The big Prometheus moment in humanity was when we caged electricity. It was in the 1800s, and since then we are like 200 years away from caging electricity. And since then, our ability to mine the earth and destroy it has gone up exponentially. And so, as I've discussed many times, there are many groups who have multiple weapons of mass destruction capabilities. And so, if you have a group where there are like 60 quote unquote rogue states who have weapons that can fuck everything up, the only thing you can do is work together. You know? I don't know. I hope I did a good job as your planetary defense commander. As far as this March, Saturn has just entered Aquarius. Update. And can I just say this? And I don't want to offend anybody. But that's the whole weird thing is like when Saturn entered Capricorn, it was around December 2017. And that is when Taylor Swift showed up on my doorstep. Of course, first thing I did was wrap my hands around her and kiss her lips. Was that a mistake? I don't know. Maybe. And that so since that moment of Saturn entering Capricorn, it's all been kind of down fucking hill for me. Meaning that like, whoa, if the 2 years in front of that weren't like all spiritual warfare all the time, they were. Like the last 2.5 years have definitely been crazy Asteroid Fight Club, Space Force, Astonishers. Whoa. And that period just ended. And that Saturn is entering Aquarius. And so cheers, y'all. Cheers to like it's the age of Aquarius. And so, as a kid, I was obsessed with the book of Revelation. I used to collect them because different books would have different versions. We're talking as a kid, man. I was obsessed with writing movies and the book of Revelation. It's weird. And so, in many ways, it has always been my opinion that we have suffered so much. And that our suffering will end when we decide that our suffering is over. And I still believe that. And that in the book of Revelation, it describes the second coming and his name is faithful and true, and that he is not a sheep or a lamb, he is a lion, and that with his iron rod he brings peace to earth for 1,000 years, and it is glorious. And so, getting back to the natural metaphor, that's how I've looked at it. I am a knight in the service of the kings of kings. And that Jesus was the one who forgave original sin and died for our sins. And that the second coming of God would come. I believe the Judaism refers to it as the first coming. I don't really want to get into semantical debates. If I'm like, there's always the Metreyu, or like multiple religions and mythologies believe that at some point someone will come along and show us the way. And so I've tried to do what I can to be a knight in the service of the kings of kings. And I guess that's what I'm going to continue to do. Well, I mean, I know that's what I'm going to continue to do. Love y'all. Oh my God, I love y'all so much. So one of my special powers is empathy, where I can feel what other people feel, and especially over the last decade, like I can feel what the world feels, and definitely the last degree over the last 3 or 4 or 5 days of Saturn going through Capricorn has been very rough for me. Feel like almost like a million needles of energy were pushing me down onto this fucking couch, which is what I sleep on. um, and then we're in the age of Aquarius, or we're moving into the age of Aquarius now, and nobody knows what's going to happen. And nobody knows what the virus is going to do. Is it going to... And, you know, that's another thing. Like, I've kind of always said in the most respectful way, don't trust your government. Don't trust governments, man. The lesson that I point to is Hurricane Maria. They were like, hey, dude, 60 people died. At the time, I was like, no, I would guess 10,000 people died. The number they came out with in the middle was 3 to 5,000. But at the same time, your government looked you in the face and was like, no, it was only 60. So I feel like we're dealing with an element of that regarding the CV. And so they've just been lying to you and us. So the numbers are pretty bad. Like, and then I guess that's the whole point, is that I'm kind of quote unquote scared, because the main thing, not only are we fighting the virus itself, but we have to put in a intermediate system between the old system and what will be the new system. And that anyone who talks about like fearing a new world order, or like fear, like, we have to come up with a plan, man, for 7 billion people, 1 billion families on the planet. We have to come up with a plan that works. And so any fucking jackhole idiot who has spent his time worshiping a politician like they were God, your fear does not affect me. And that somehow we want to get to a better place. And that it is my belief that a new world order has been in place. You just haven't known it, dude, because you've been too busy worshiping one of their fucking puppets, bro. And so that ran aground. And now we got to figure out a new system. And that is the exciting, scary part, is that it's in all of our hands now. We are all Atlas. We are all holding the world on our shoulders. And that It has taken 2,000 years of teamwork, if not more, to get here. And it's going to take a whole lot of teamwork and cool people working together to get to a better place than we're at now. But as of right now, we are in World War III with the CV. Yeah, corporations and gangs and groups are probably going to be trying to jockey for power during it. And I can only keep my faith in God, do what I can to put out good information and guide the way. Like I said, it's in God's hand. I don't know what you believe, but this has always been in God's hands and it will stay that way. So changes are coming. And so stay cool, man, and do what you can to make the world a better place. And I've talked about this for a long fucking time, is that what we have now is like history was a giant chalkboard, right? Giant chalkboard. Well, the whole chalkboard just got erased completely, absolutely. And that now we have a chance to put in a better system. And it has been my belief that the system of war, oil, and deception was the enemy. You gotta pick an enemy. It was the fucking system, bro. And so we have a chance to create a new system. And that don't let negativity, nihilists, fear control your decisions. Because if you are working from your heart, your mind, and your soul to make the world a better place, we will do okay. But it's going to take a lot of teamwork. It's going to take a lot of prayer. All right, this is your Planetary Defense Commander update. I will probably come back in a little while since I've been drinking whiskey and just play guitar. If you want to tune into that, that's cool. Yeah, I'm a little scared. Like I said, because to avoid a period of lawlessness, we are going to need our present politicians to have a vision where they have to take care of the weakest link first, meaning that the poorest of the poor, everybody is taken care of during this 2 to 3 month period. Some form of a shutdown could last anywhere from 2 months to 3 months. And I think that is what you need to be prepared to deal with. But it all gives us like 100 days to figure out what type of a system we're going to have from the ashes of this. So I recommend staying cool and getting good with God. And like I said, this isn't fucking martial law, man. Your military will be out there supporting your doctors and your nurses and hopefully your food providers, your stockers, your grocery stores. That the guys in the military, the ladies in the military are your friends. They're on the wall protecting you and have been. Sure, yes, our politicians have fucked them over the last 20 years and sent them to protect parts of war, oil, and deception. But that time is over. And that the majority of the military is there to protect you and to fight for the American way. Rock and roll, baseball, and apple pie, baby. And so, yes, the people who worship politicians are going to do what they can to make you fear the military, but don't. And it's definitely time to pray that our politicians do the right thing. Because just as our hospitals are being overwhelmed, if politicians try to keep up the supply chains of people fed through unemployment benefits, you're going to have to apply for them. That system is going to be overwhelmed, and it is going to come way too fucking late. And so I definitely think that we need to figure out a system over the next 10 fucking days of how everyone's power is going to stay on, the internet's going to stay up, they're going to have a place to live, and they're going to be fed. That, like everybody's Space Force, as long as everyone works together, we'll get our way through this. All right? In this moment, I'm strangely optimistic. But I'd like to say thank you to everybody and everything. Please stay cool. I'll talk to y'all in the future. God bless everyone.